and welcome to episode 12. I'm Sean Diehl, and this is the Purpose Driven Funnel Show. I'm embarking on a journey to grow a successful online business so I can break free from my 9-to-5. The question is, how will I do it? Find out right here on the Purpose Driven Funnel Show, where you will get an insider's view as I interview experts who have succeeded. I'm doing it because my why is bigger than my 9-to-5. Life was meant to be a joy, not a chore. Will you join me? Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/purpose-driven-funnels. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. So today I've got Melanie Diehl on the show, who is a social media marketing strategist that teaches business owners how to grow their brand online. She also does one-on-one coaching. She holds workshops and seminars as well. I'm really excited to have her on the show. Thanks for joining us, Melanie.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. I'm really kind of excited to kind of dive in and, learn more about you, your business journey, and what that's been all about. So can you just kind of give us, a little bit of the background and how you kind of got into your own business?
Well, interesting story. I actually started my first business 30 years ago. I was surprised a couple of weeks ago when I realized that it had been 30 years. I kind of fell into that, and one thing led to another. I ran that business for almost 25 years. In the meantime, I started a second business 20 years ago. We sold that off to a key employee, and it's still going strong. The business that I'm in right now, though, I actually started as a volunteer. And a colleague of mine said, Melanie, you can get paid to do that. You don't have to keep doing that for free as a volunteer. So I did it. I had successful businesses before, so I launched this one, and it's been very successful as well, 10 years.
Sure. It just kind of started with somebody saying, hey, can you help me out with this? Some social media stuff. Is that kind of what you were helping people with?
Exactly. So I was actually volunteering at the local Chamber of Commerce, working with the members and helping them with their member benefits and things like that with the membership. And it was very interesting because I'd been marketing for a long time, for 20 years with my various businesses, but I was seeing something new happening with this digital space, especially with Facebook and social media. I was very interested in it. We started marketing at the Chamber doing that. And of course, the Chamber members came up and said, hey, can you get me on Facebook? So we gathered a group of local business owners down at Town Hall and put things up on the projector and showed people how to put their business on Facebook. And well, that was 10 years ago. Things have certainly changed since then, but that's what I still do today. I still help business owners understand this whole realm of social media marketing.
Wow. That's definitely a growing space, and it's just gaining more popularity. So that's really good. Sounds like you were a pretty early adopter and got in when things were still pretty new. What was it that kind of prompted you or prodded you to go or motivate you to start that as a full-time gig?
I really enjoyed what I was doing, and I understood it a lot. I was very, like I said, I was really, really curious about how people could use this, because it was so different than what most people were used to 10 years ago, and even from 20 and 30 years ago. So I just kept helping people do it, like I said, for free. And this was even outside of my volunteering at the Chamber at this point. I was just helping people for free. And my colleague said, like I said, you can do this and go launch a business. So we were sitting in a coffee shop, and I went on Facebook and I found the Facebook URL that I wanted, and I found a website URL that I wanted. And I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I proceeded to really make sure that I always participate in continuing education and professional development. And that has helped me out a lot along the way too. I went to a local university where they have a certificate program in social media management. So I participated in that. I've done a lot of training with some of the email service providers too. Constant Contact is the one that I use a lot, and they have a tremendous education component to their product as well. So as long as I keep learning and I can share really good information, it makes me a good businesswoman, and my business has grown because I've been able to do all of those things over the years.
So your business is really just primarily online then, is that right?
It's not all online. Actually, I teach a lot of classes. Probably 50% of my business is teaching classes and workshops. I teach at the local community colleges and chambers across the area. I teach at small business centers. I teach a lot of private classes too for companies that want to bring me in to maybe train their team on how to use LinkedIn, or how the team can participate as engaged users on the Facebook page. So that's 50% of my work is training in a small group setting. I also train at conferences and other seminars too. So half of my work is face-to-face with groups, and I also have online trainings, some digital courses that are in the works, and the rest of my work is actually client work. I think it's important for a social media manager who's a teacher to always have client work, because if all you do is teach and you're not in the trenches where the changes are happening day to day, I think you kind of lose a little bit. So it's important to me that I'm always in the trenches, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think anybody who wants to teach anything tech these days should probably be in it, because it changes so quickly.
Yeah.
So obviously you've been in business for a little while doing this, and you've probably had several different types of clients, some that have been good to work with and some maybe more challenging. What was one of the maybe toughest challenges that you faced in helping a client with their online marketing, where maybe there was a time when maybe you were not getting the results you hoped, or maybe they were disappointed in the results, or they had different expectations or something along those lines?
Exactly. I think if I can just use this one phrase of expectation versus reality, that will cover so many of the situations that I've faced over the years. In the early days, a lot of people would come to me and say, "Hey, Melanie, why don't you get me on Facebook and make me rich and famous?" And it's really not as simple as just putting a Facebook page together and all of a sudden you're going to be rich and famous.
Magic, yeah.
Right? I wish it was that simple.
Right.
So that expectation with clients, I had to learn how to do that. And so that was a learning curve for me in the early days. Over the years, I've learned how to set those expectations and how to portray what the reality could actually look like for them. There have been times when the expectation on their side was too high, and we had to regroup. And here's the other thing is, not everybody is going to be my customer, and I'm not going to be the ideal solution provider for every business that's out there. And besides, I couldn't possibly handle all of the business by myself anyway. I mean, even though I have a team, it still is impossible. So I think it really comes down to finding your ideal audience, finding the right target market to send your message to and connect with those people. Yeah, that's what marketing really is about, is identifying the audience and giving them a message with a call to action. So that's kind of where I've had to take my business over the years as well, when it comes to finding the customers that probably aren't the best fit.
Right. Yeah. I've heard people, I can't remember who it is off of my head, but I've heard people talk about firing your customers sometimes. You're just not a good match. You just got to fire your customer and find one that you are a good match with. As far as you mentioned team, and you said you have a team, can you kind of talk to us a little bit about, how you see the importance of having a team and doing that work together versus
Absolutely.
doing it alone?
Absolutely. I did it alone for many years, and I found myself stretched too thin, as many business owners do. And I've come to the conclusion that there are certain things that I'm better at, or certain things that I prefer to do and certain things that are maybe not my strength or that are not my preference. So finding the people to do the things that they're good at helps me do the things that I'm good at and do them better. So I've got VAs that do different tasks for me. Some of them manage my calendar, some of them manage a bit of my marketing. I've got some people that work web development for me. We work together on projects. I've got graphic designers that I work with. So I can't do all of these things, and I'm not an expert at all of those things. So when you can find the people and put them in place that can do the things that they're good at, and people that have like-minded attitudes and integrity, I think that's really important too. I made a few mistakes in the beginning growing my team where I didn't get the right fit. People who didn't have the same ideals that I did about timelines and commitment, and that was a struggle. So it can take a while sometimes to put your team together. And I think it's important to have the team in place before you have the projects in place, because you have to have all of that ready. You have to have the infrastructure ready. The foundation has to be there before you can offer new services or take on new clients.
Sure. So did you start out doing this stuff by yourself, or did you kind of start a little bit on your own, but already looking for a team right off the bat? When did you decide to introduce a team into your business?
When I ran it by myself for a very, very long time, and it was kind of a tipping point, if you will, where I realized that my business was not going to grow if I didn't have a team in place in order for me to get to the point where I wanted to be with my business. So after years of working by myself, with myself, or alone, with no one else, I started bringing on team members. And that's been over the past 2 years. I've been bringing on team members, and it really has enabled me. From 2017 to 2018, I doubled my revenue because I had a team.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. So in 1 year, you doubled it just because you had the right people in the right place doing the right things?
Yes, sir. I believe that's what it's about.
That is awesome. So in the beginning, when you were kind of doing it on your own, I know I heard you say, you're not an expert in everything. Were you doing those things even though you maybe weren't an expert in them, or did you add those things later as you added team members, added those services that other people could do for you?
Yeah, I was actually trying to build a website by myself, and it's not the worst thing that I've ever seen in the world, but I realized that was not my area of expertise, that there are people that do this. They can write CSS and HTML code in their sleep, and I can't. So
I understand.
So I decided then that I needed web developers because I know enough to be dangerous. And I don't mean that literally, but there's a lot that I can do, but there are the little finesse, the fine points, the details that I might not know. And I want my client to have the best possible product, to get the best result in the end. And that's why it's important to have those team members there that can take on the tasks that maybe aren't my area of expertise. So I learned the hard way.
Wow, there's a lot, man. There's a lot I could ask about that, but about hiring a team and all of that. And I probably should hold off because we'll probably end up going on this interview for a long time. But so, who knows? Maybe we can have you on again in the future and talk more about just that team aspect, because that's something I think that is really important. And there are a lot of questions around, when do I introduce my team and how do I do it and who and how all that stuff works. And it sounds like you've got that down pretty good. So why don't we kind of shift a little bit into kind of talked a little bit about your business, but so a new beginning person like myself and probably much of the audience that's listening to this show right now, what are some things that we can do to grow an online business when we're just beginning and maybe doing it all ourselves, and we've got all this social media stuff in front of us and all these different options. What do you suggest that somebody starting out do?
That is the perfect question. And every time I teach a class, no matter the subject, whether it's social media marketing, email marketing, maybe it's an Instagram class or whatever we're talking about, what I always tell business owners is there's three things that every business owner needs. The first thing that every business owner needs is a website on a URL that you own and a domain that you can control. So I think it's important to have that website. It's important to have an email service provider, because that's a direct line to your audience. And it's important to have one social media platform, and it needs to be the one where your audience is hanging out. That's a lot to take on in the beginning. Managing a website, communicating with your audience through email marketing, promoting through a social media platform, that's a lot up front, right? So once you have identified that first audience, that first platform where your audience is hanging out, if you decide that they're on a secondary platform as well, once you've got the first one down pat, then expand into that second platform if you feel the need to. But it's really important that you don't disregard the first one where you already started building that audience and creating those relationships with people. So you don't have to be on everything, on all the platforms all the time. Take one or two. And if you can't handle all of that, then maybe you need to hire a VA. You can hire a VA that can do it for you at a very reasonable price. So it's just important to find out, first of all, where is your audience? Where are they hanging out? Knowing their language, when you can speak to them, what's in it for me is really important when it comes to the message that you're sharing with your audience, because let's face it, they want to know what's in it for them. So why should they pay attention to you? Why should they buy your product or your service or donate to your organization or whatever your line of work is? So start small and take baby steps. So you don't get too overwhelmed, hopefully.
Yeah, that it's true, because there are so many social media platforms. Even if we just talk about the really popular ones, there's still quite a handful of those, and then you've got new ones popping up all the time that have promise. And a person, I know I get overwhelmed, like, man, where should I be? So I really like how you broke it down to asking yourself, where is my audience hanging out? Where's my ideal customer? And that's where you go, and you just kind of laser focus just on one social media platform. Is that right?
To start off, yes. Otherwise, you risk burnout and overwhelm, and it's important to have consistency on the platform because you have to build credibility with your audience. And if let's say you're marketing on Facebook and you're promoting 3 or 4 times a week, put some messaging out there, and then all of a sudden you decide you're going to go to Twitter and you just ditch Facebook altogether, it kind of affects your credibility, because if someone comes to your Facebook page and they see you haven't posted anything for 2 or 3 months, they're likely to think, well, there's nothing happening over here, so I'm just not going to follow this page. I'm not going to connect with them here. And then they might not know where to connect with you. So they kind of wonder what happened to you. So that's why I say take it one at a time, making sure that you never let the ones that you already have going, don't let them fall by the wayside.
Yeah, that's very true. I can't tell how many times I've looked at somebody's Facebook page or something, and I will actually consciously look at the last post that was in there, and if there's any activity in there, and if there isn't anything in the last 30 days, I'm usually just moving on, because people go there to see some kind of action or some kind of conversation happening, right?
Exactly, yes.
So, okay, well, let me ask you this then, because I've got this show on my Facebook page. Is there any tips that you can give me for how to improve my, posting on the page, or anything that you would suggest that maybe I could enhance it with?
Well, I typically don't like to give advice with, let me see, my friend says, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. So I would need to look at your Facebook page, but I can go ahead and give you some recommendations. This is something that every business owner can do to improve the reach and engagement on their Facebook page, and that is to go live.
Do live
Facebook
videos?
loves live streaming, and Facebook will reward you for going live. Go live on a regular basis. If you can go live the same time every week, like Mondays at 8 p.m. or whatever it is, then Facebook will start to reward you for that. Your audience will become accustomed to seeing you show up Mondays at 8 o'clock, and they'll tune in. They'll look forward to it. So we kind of train our followers to look for that and go live long enough so people can be in there and have a conversation with you and ask questions. And bottom line, social media is a dialogue, not a monologue. So make it conversational.
That's good. Yeah, and I appreciate that. That's a good recommendation. And I'm
Yes.
sure a lot of users will get some good value out of that. I hadn't really thought about having a regular schedule. I just kind of think of things and, oh, well, let me just post this or do that. And it kind of sometimes feels like I'm all over the place thing.
Yes.
So in our last few minutes, I want to kind of switch just a little bit and talk some about, purpose. I know that, you've got your calling and purpose that you believe that you're put here on this earth to pursue. So kind of tell us a little bit, how has your business maybe allowed you to pursue that calling or your purpose in life, and how does that play together?
So I guess it goes back to all of these years, when I first started my first business 30 years ago, because I was a work from home mom for years. Having my own business really enabled me to do the things that were important. It enabled me to stay home with my children because of the flexibility in my schedule. It allowed me to volunteer at my church and in my community, and I still do those things because I can set the schedule. I still serve my clients, but I'm able to serve also the community that's important to me, my family and my local community. I do a lot of the things that I do with my business. Also, I volunteer. There's one service that I volunteer, and that's the way that I give back to the business community as well. So having that flexibility, I think, is the most important thing, because it's enabled me to do what was really important to me, and that was take care of my family and take care of my community.
So do you have any kind of maybe advice for somebody that maybe right now they're stuck in their job and they have a calling on their heart, or they have a purpose that they want to pursue, but they feel like that their job is kind of holding them back? I mean, do you have any encouragement or anything for those people who are just trying to start that business so they can gain that flexibility?
It's going to be a lot of hard work at first. But if you don't do something that scares you every once in a while, you're not really living. So it's going to be some sleepless nights or long days, but you should do it. You should just take that leap of faith, just like I did. I did it 3 times. I took a leap of faith, and it was it was successful each time. Do your research. Make sure that there is a call for your product or your service. Make sure there's a market for you, and do your research and give it a shot. What have you got to lose? A couple hours of sleep? You can get that later.
Man, you just described me to a T. I mean, I can't tell you how many. Before I started trying to work on my business, I mean, I was in bed by 9:30, 10 o'clock every night, like clockwork, getting my rest. But since I've been trying to get a business going, I don't know if I've been to bed before midnight very many times, to be honest. It's been crazy. It has been a lot of hard work, and I'll tell you, I'm just scared to death sometimes about doing a podcast. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never had a podcast before. So yeah, no, thanks for that. That's exactly right. It's exactly how you described this. I guess just keep pushing through, and someday it's bound to break, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Melanie, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing some insights and wisdom with us about business and purpose. Can you just tell us how maybe some of the listeners could get in touch with you?
Sure. You can visit my website, melaniediehl.com.
Awesome. And I'll put that in the show notes to make sure that we know how to spell that. It's your last name, Diehl.
Correct.
Correct? Yeah. And Melanie with an IE. I'll put that link in the show notes. And I think you are also offering some new courses you had mentioned about. Is there anything you want to share with that?
Yes, I'm launching my email marketing academy this week. And I am offering to all of your show listeners, if they want to take advantage of the Email Marketing Academy digital course, they can come to my website and they can use the promo code PURPOSE to save 50%.
Wow, that's awesome. That's very generous. I definitely appreciate that. I know the listeners will appreciate that. Everybody should definitely go over there and check out that email marketing course. That's definitely something that, as an online business owner, you want to be able to create a good list and be able to market to them appropriately. So Thanks again, Melanie. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll have you on again soon and we can talk some more business.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
You bet. Take care. Well, I really hope you enjoyed the show today. Don't forget to check the show notes page and make sure you get all the great resources that are available there. And also, if you like the show, please do me a favor and rate and review it. It really helps me get the word out to others just like you. So until next time, I'm wishing you success in your purpose-driven business journey. God bless.